Hello, everyone. We actually have today with us Gabrielle Summe, our Kenton County Clerk, who's responsible for so much of what goes on behind the scenes in the county. So, Gabe, thanks for getting with us today. And I think our main topic is going to be the election. There's so much happening, and you guys have been a whirlwind of change. So, take us through the date of the election, how this is going to work, and all the things you have to put together to make sure that this comes off in a very a positive way.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity because this is very different from any election. Hopefully this is the only time that it's set up in this particular setup. But due to the virus, we had to make a lot of changes. So having the opportunity to really let people know what's going on, what's available, what to do now, what to do later is really super helpful. So just to kind of go through some deadlines that I want people to be aware of, because I think it's important that as a voter, it's one of those crucial rights that people don't feel like they're confused about what's happening. Because of the virus, our elections will not be in a big precinct by precinct setup like we normally do. So on our way to talking about what election day is going to look like, I do want to talk briefly about some deadlines. That first deadline is May 26th at 4 o'clock. If you are not registered to vote at this point, now's the time to do it. It is going through elect.ky.gov. You can do an online registration. And also any information that I'm talking about today is available on my website, which is kentoncountykyclerk.com. I know it's a mouthful, but it's a great place. I have all of my online resources available there. So the deadline again for registration is May 26th. Also, if you've changed your party affiliation, I'm requesting that people really take the opportunity to go check out their registration. There's only a Democratic and Republican races on this ballot. So unless you are currently part of that party, you may not even get a ballot this primary. And if you changed your party after the beginning of the year, then you may not qualify for a ballot as well. And the state's sending all those people notices to let them know that by changing their party after the beginning of the year, they will not qualify for a ballot. But I'd rather people know that up front and have the opportunity. Also, check your address. This is going to be what we call expanded absentee voting. I can't be more emphasized enough to take the time to make sure your address is correct. Please go through, call my office at 392-1620, request your absentee ballots now. There will be some very limited in-person balloting between June 8th and June 22nd, but I'm encouraging people to take this opportunity for this expanded absentee. And I also, on my website, under my election tab, there is an absentee request portal, and they can technically just go online. It asks for all the information I need. I'm able to process that very quickly, and then it gives me a lot of time now to get them their application as well as their absentee ballot. So those are kind of some of the deadlines that are currently pending and some of the information I think people need at this point.
So we've got a deadline to make a change or to register. And then to make it easier, if you want to do the absentee, this expanded absentee, go online and click on, and one of the spots is essentially for medical emergency, right? And it says COVID-19.
Yes.
So you check that. Kind of walk us through the website. What happens after I fill out the website?
So the next day, we are over the weekend, we had 700 people go through basically my request portal. We process those by sending them the application right now, and then they sign it, they send it back to us, and then I can send them the ballot. Starting on May the 22nd, the State Board of Elections will have what they call a portal as well, and that's actually through the State Board of Elections computer system. That will be a more streamlined process than what we are doing right now, and that gets people to the ballot faster. So if people want to wait, that's fine, but if they choose to do it now, the best way to get all my information is to go to kentoncountykyclerk.com under my elections tab, go to the absentee ballot request, and then I can process that for them now.
Great. So other than going online, you're mailing it out, sign it, mail it back into you, and then you would then in turn mail back the ballot. And that's the same ballot I'd be getting if I waited to the state web portal to be set up. So it's smooth, just to be aware that it does take a couple of steps.
It's just an extra step. And because a lot of people have never actually done an absentee ballot, there is a video on my website as well. I've just had it updated. It's a little bit more streamlined, and it shows people to make sure that they are reading all the instructions, making sure they fill out the ballot properly, because there's a lot more to an actual absentee ballot. There's different envelopes that are involved. You need to make sure you sign the outside of the envelope. So I just want to make sure people have an opportunity to see how it's done, so that video is also available. Great.
So that all gets accomplished, and if I can mail that in and therefore I vote, maybe to walk to the next options of the election day itself that was moved by the governor.
Right. So we do have some in person. So if people really do need handicap accessible equipment, or they don't have the opportunity to have a place where I can mail things to them, they will be able to call and make an appointment with the office, in which they can come into the office between June 8th and the 22nd. We're still working on all the fine details of how best to keep everybody safe, the distance and everything. So we really want to encourage people to really use the mail-in process, but that will be available. As we get to election day will still happen. It will still be from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But again, based on the governor's recommendations and all the CDC guidelines, we're only going to have one physical location for the whole county. So my 105 precincts will not be open. I just want to make sure people check all this out before that day. And the wonderful thing is that the convention center has agreed to be that one location in the whole county. I felt like that was a really good place. It could handle the crowd of people that may or may not come that day. We're still, again, the fine details are being worked out of how we work with the traffic. You've, of course, been kind enough to say that the parking garage will be open and free that day, so people can park, go across the street to the convention center, and vote that day as well.
Great. So it's not ideal, but we'd have a big enough space that people throughout that day. What would be the hours on election day?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And due to the large volume of mail-in ballots, we're really, really hoping that people take that opportunity. I can't stress that enough. We will be releasing some preliminary results that day, but we have up to a week after election day to make sure that we process all of the the ballots that come in, because we are prepaying the postage on all of those ballots. So it's easier for people to come back. And then again, the fiscal court has graciously put a drop box off in front of our building here at 1840 Summe and Kenton Way. And so people can even drop that off if they so choose. And we want to make sure that we take the time to get all of those ballots and they can be properly processed.
So really the ideal situation is if people feel comfortable doing absentee. Many of us, if we're out of town or something, have used that method in the past, no different. But if we really feel most comfortable with being in person, that'll be staffed and be able to be parked for free there on June 23rd. So you really got the best of both worlds. It's not ideal, but this gives it the ability for everybody else to make sure that their vote is taken.
And for proper staffing and for proper protection for the poll workers and whoever's working, I know I sound like a broken record, but I cannot encourage people enough to really take the opportunity to request their ballots now, so that they have the time to look at candidates, fill out the ballot, and get it back to me. One other just shout out to my candidates. Again, this is strictly only for the primary. This is not what will be the norm for the November election. I know a lot of people were concerned about that, and I wanted to say that out loud. And also my candidates also have some deadlines coming up for city council. You have your school boards, as well as your soil and conservation district will be on the ballot in the fall. And those deadlines are June 22nd to get their filings in. I also have some information on my website for them. And I just encourage them to get their information in here sooner rather than later.
Great. Well, Gabe, I know you're putting these pieces together, and the Board of Elections bipartisan board has been instrumental in helping you. And thanks for everything you and your staff has continued to do in this crazy time we're living through.
Well, you and the fiscal court, Judge, I have to thank you personally because you have been super supportive. Helped me reach out to those people to make this be a much cleaner, easier process for the voters of Kenton County.
You bet. Well, always. We're here to get it done together. Thanks so much, Gabe.
Appreciate your time.